You know what? This graph has been very confusing for many students, and this is one of the key elements for understanding how a business really faces its economic picture. So what we're going to do is take a quick look at this graph. Hopefully in the next few minutes you'll get a little better understanding of what this is telling you and how it applies. Now, of course, one of the tricks of economics, this is theory. You cannot really ever, for your business, construct this graph. This is just theory, yet underlying the actual performance of a business is this theory. So let's take a quick look and just try to explain what we're seeing. You'll find this, of course, as figure 9-4 on page black circle 156 of your textbook. Okay, first, we have our quantity here, and for the business, instead of price, what we have is the price of doing business or the cost. We'll look at how this pieces together here in just a few minutes. Now, marginal cost represents the supply curve for this business. I mean, to add one more unit of production causes the addition of one more unit of cost. For example, let's say the business is producing here at quantity 1 and it wants to increase to quantity 2. Well, it will have to add a little bit of cost to make that change happen. Okay, this upper curve here is called the average total cost. That includes the two elements that go into cost, variable cost and fixed cost. Your accounting class gives you a good picture on that part. Average variable cost is here underneath. And you'll notice that the two lines gradually get close together. That's because fixed cost is the same, and this is essentially a cost per quantity. So the fixed cost per quantity keeps diminishing the larger the quantity. Fixed cost divided by Q, with Q increasing, average fixed cost will in fact decrease. So this is the picture. Now let's superimpose on this cost curve, cost structure, a sample demand curve. And let's see if the blue marker will show up. I hope you can see that. Now, here's what the company is going to see for this picture. The demand they face, downward sloping, is there. They will be selling this amount of quantity, Q1. And their cost will be, for that quantity, their average total cost will be here. And they'll be selling for this price here. Call it price 1, associating with quantity 1. Okay, now, this will then give this business with the cost here and the price there. Let's go green. Green means money. That will represent the profit margin, or in accounting terms, the contribution margin for this particular structure. Of course, assumes that that's the demand, that's the supply. Okay. Now, in another exercise, we can look and see what happens, and I'll use the red pen for this demand. Let's say this business is struggling, just getting started, and their demand that they see, because, well, their marketing isn't very good, or isn't very effective yet, perhaps the product they're trying to sell is a loser, they're going to have a much lower demand. And let's say that demand is here. The loser demand. Well, supply and demand will say they'll sell quantity 3 and they'll get price 3 there. Well, if you'll notice, they're below their average variable cost and way below their average fixed cost. Your textbook will mention that if that quantity associated with the intersection of marginal cost and average variable cost is the result, that represents what we call the shutdown point. Anything above that point for cost and demand structure would not be a shutdown point, because at least the business would be covering their cost to sell an additional item. So somewhere in this region, they'll not be making a profit if they can reach this level here. Oh, we're getting lots of lines here, aren't we? If you reach that level here, they're at least covering all of their costs. Average variable cost is being covered. So for this price, they're basically making what in economics we'll call zero profit. Now, step back a little bit, let you take a look, and then we'll see what we can see. Okay, that's enough on this one. I'm going to erase this, and we're going to look at how this pieces together. There, all the pain and misery is gone. Now let's take a look at what we mean by profit in economics. Profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. Quite simple, right? Now, the one issue about revenue is that total cost in economics has several components. Total cost equals the sum of the fixed cost plus the variable cost plus one more element that is not really mentioned in your accounting class, and that is called the opportunity cost. Okay? Opportunity cost. Total cost, therefore, using another set of terminology, is equal to the explicit cost plus the implicit. The explicit cost is our fixed cost and variable cost. That's the cost that you got to write a check for. That's the actual cash that's moving out. The implicit cost, or the opportunity cost, well, is what you give up to do the business. I like to call this, the implicit cost, the is it worth it cost. Is it worth your effort to keep that business going? There are many businesses that shut down simply because they are not satisfied with the revenue coming in and its ability to overcome the implicit costs. They might be breaking even. They might be making a small accounting profit. Yet that small accounting profit is not enough to satisfy their desire to do something else. It's just not worth it to keep that business going. And perhaps you've seen something like that. Say in a course you may have been taking and you dropped it. It just wasn't worth keeping going. So with all of this, we have a simple explanation of the production curves and the profit picture for a business.